Survivor Specialist Phil and Will are back. We got an early predictions episode today. We're doing it early in the morning for once. We got episode 10 coming up, final 8. After the craziness of last week, this is the aftermath. And let's see what goes on here. We're going to do our power rankings. We got the updated boot list. We're going to read a bunch of comments that we didn't get to in our recap episode. Got some Twitter. If you guys want to comment on this video, comment on Twitter. We'll get to it all today. Will, what do we start with here? Go ahead. Say something.
Well, yeah, I would say this is probably the earliest podcast we've ever done, and it's not even that early. It's 11:30 a.m., so this record can be easily broken in the future. But for now, this is an early morning podcast. Like you said, Twitter, YouTube. If you haven't watched our episode 9 recap, you probably should. I think that episode was just so good. I think it's worth watching or listening to that recap. The link to that is in the description, so make sure to check that out. And I say we just get into power rankings. It's only 8 people, so it will go by very quickly. That's why we held some comments back. I'm going to start with number 1. I have a question for you. Who do I have left for my eliminator?
You have Michelle, Joe, and Ty.
Okay, so I'm going Joe this week and then putting Joe at number 1 in my power rankings. He's not at all in a very good position, but he's just he's so not there. And it looks like there is going to be a lot of back and forth, like a big power struggle this week between, Jason and Scott reeling in Ty and Julia, or, maintaining Ty and Julia, because we don't really know where each of them stand. And then versus, Aubrey, Michelle, Sydney. I guess you could just toss Joe in there, but he's such not playing. If someone's going to get a bullet here, I don't see it going Joe's way. So I have Joe at number 1 and Joe for my eliminator.
Okay, cool. I'm using Ty as my eliminator this week just because I only have Ty and Michelle left. Ty's got the idol. I could see Ty going in the near future, though. So I'm going to use him now because I could see him getting too wishy-washy and actually getting blindsided with this idol now. Now it seems like it's starting to feel like he might get blindsided with it now. I don't think it would be this week. So I'm using Ty as my eliminator. But, of course, I'm putting Michelle at 1. The best part about the power rankings is that Michelle's been number 1 almost every week for me.
Wow,
this
I'm
whole
shocked.
winner's
I'm
spiel and yeah. I mean, I'm up 5 on you, so I got really not that much to lose. I have enough faith. It's a terrible strategy, right? But I made a point of it. I feel bad that I said I was going to go with her number 1 all the way through the season. I didn't because of 1 week, but now I feel bad, and I'm going to go here. But I think she's all right. I don't know what's going to end up happening with the girls, but I do think that if a girl goes this week, I think it's going to be Julia or it's going to be Sydney, just because I think the guys are still going to be coming after Sydney, and the only person that the girls actually turn on will be Julia. So I think Michelle is absolutely fine this week. I got her at 1. I know, big difference from every other week. So
I'm just surprised because Michelle is one of those people that I could see going if Scott, Jason, they say, I don't know, did you watch the most recent preview yesterday? Okay. Jason and Scott say we have Julia 100%, and if they have Ty, which Ty is probably going to be the wild card here, whether they really have him, and they want to target somebody, I think Michelle is someone that's, perfect to go after. I think she's not looked at as a huge threat, but certainly someone who you don't want to go to the end with. So I do worry for Michelle just a little bit. I have Ty at number 2. This might be way too high because if he's playing both sides, we saw in that original preview after last week's episode that Aubrey was trying to sway him over. If Jason and Scott get a whiff of something, maybe they target Ty. But if that's the case, who do they have? That means they have Julia, Scott, Jason. That's only 3 votes if Ty isn't with them. So I think Ty is pretty much safe here because he does have an idol and he does seem to be pretty much in the middle. So, or if not the middle, he's going to fall on the side of 4, maybe either way, or side of 5. So I really like Ty's position here.
I have Ty at 3, and like I said, I'm using him for the eliminator. The thing is, right now, there's people left in the game, and I could see all 8 of them going home this week. Like, any of them going home wouldn't floor me. I know Kyle has the idol, Ty has the idol, but I just don't know what's going to end up happening with, the super idol thing, who the girls are going to target. Maybe the guys get a little too cocky. I could see any of these 8 people really going this week. So I feel like this power rankings is like more of a crapshoot than ever at Final 8 because there's no lock guaranteed to be sitting at the final 2 right now or final 3 right now. Because it's been so well, we've seen enough of everybody where, like, if Joe goes this week, it would be kind of surprising just because, like, why did they get rid of Joe? But I'm sure they could come up with some storyline in this episode for Joe to go, so I wouldn't be completely shocked. So I got Ty at 3. I think he's in a pretty good spot. He's got the idol. It seems like people are fighting over him. I got Kyle at 2. He's got the idol. He's playing so freaking aggressive. I don't know. Maybe he does do something stupid, give the idol to Ty and for the super idol thing, and then Ty ends up not doing it, and Kyle gets blindsided that way. But I think right now Kyle is just playing so aggressive. I think he would be able to sniff that out before it happened. I think he would, he would know it's coming. So I got him at 2, Ty at 3.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised you have him that high as well, just because this preview, the weekend preview, says that there is going to be a blindside. And again, we can't look so much into this because they overuse that word blindside all the time. But in that preview, they show Kyle being just very arrogant and very confident that they are running the game. And we saw Jeff say the theme of this season is, if no matter how safe you are, you can always go home. We saw it with Nick. We saw it with Debbie. I mean, these are people that really did not expect to go home entering tribal council. And if that trend continues, I think, Kyle could be someone that happens to. Scott Pollard more likely, but I feel like the last 2 prediction episodes I've said, Scott Pollard is likely going to go home this week, and he keeps sticking around. So it's hard for me to keep putting Scott at the bottom, even though that is what I will probably end up doing.
Well, here's the thing with this right now. It's like they keep playing up this arrogant card, and normally when they play up the arrogant card, that person ends up going. We saw it happen with Peter. We saw it happen in so many seasons where the people get confident and then they go. It's like the kiss of death every time. This season has weird to me. It's almost like these guys are so arrogant, but this is like a full season story arc of arrogance. And I just don't see Kyle going this week. I mean, I can't look too much into, he's being arrogant, he's so confident. He's been that way since the game started, and he hasn't gone. So I don't look into that too much right now because it's not like it's something new. It's something we've seen every single week. So
yeah, but I mean, Peter did go home, Nick did go home, and if they haven't really concentrated on Kyle or Scott singly. They've been kind of this group or this kind of alliance. But if they get into one specific, if they really concentrate on a specific person, then watch out. They could really be heading to getting voted out. One thing more on Ty, just because I had him at 2, get him at 3. Those quotes, just when he first found the idol, like, I don't want to go home with this thing in my pocket. Those are still kind of lingering in the back of my head. And I think he's good for now, but it would not surprise me if he goes home with an idol in his pocket.
No, not at all. But I just don't think it's going to happen this week. I do think it's going to end up happening, but I don't think it's going to happen this week. It seems like they're playing it up where, like, the idol thing, it's going to work out worse for all the people with idols right now. At least that's the vibe I'm getting. It seems like they're going to mess this up somehow. I just don't know who's going to mess it up first. But I feel like Kyle won't get voted out with one in his pocket. But
yeah,
the timeline.
The vibe, this is kind of the vibe I'm getting from both previews and just the way the season's been going, is that Aubrey is going to sway Ty to that group of 4. So now it's 5 against Julia, Scott, and Kyle. Kyle plays his idol, but they ended up voting for Julia, and then Julia goes home, or they ended up voting for Scott, and Scott goes home. And Ty was not even with them when they go into the vote. So that's kind of the vibe I'm getting. That's kind of how I'm basing my rankings. But a lot of things obviously could happen because it's Survivor.
Mm-hmm. So who do you have at 3?
At 3, I have Aubrey. This is mainly due to the edit. I think if you are also targeting someone, if you have the numbers like Scott and Jason, if Ty and Julia do stay true, and maybe they pull even like, I don't know, Michelle or someone like that, they can somehow get 5. Or use an idol, I think you want to take out probably anyone. You want to take out Sydney. You want to take out maybe Joe because he's likable. Aubrey, I don't know if other players are aware of how hard she's playing this game, how well she's playing this game. She doesn't really pose a threat at immunity challenges. So why are you going to take out Aubrey? The answer would be if you've seen her edit so far, and they haven't seen that. So I like Aubrey.
Aubrey's playing the sofa. She 100% is. She's under the radar. She's doing all of her gameplay to the cameras, or explaining all of her threatening moves to the cameras, and everything that she's doing to everybody else. They don't realize that she's the puppet master right now. And that's a great way to play the game. And that when you get to the end, you normally win. That's just how it is. I mean, I know we didn't hear much of it from Natalie White, but that's how Natalie White won. That's how Sophie won. That's how Danny Boatwright won. Like, people just didn't notice. And that's what I think is, kind of happening to Aubrey. And if she wins, it's because she was fantastic at just being low key, but still being in control of everything, which is so hard to do. He's just hanging around. It's Joe. He's there. He's not going anywhere. I put him in the middle just because somehow he gets a stray vote and goes home. I have no idea, but Joe's there. He's not going to win, but he's still here.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's why I'm in number one. I just don't see, especially when you're at final 8 and it's 4-on-4, it's like you really need to take someone out who's going to have an influence, and Joe has absolutely no influence on the game so far.
Yeah, he's just a number. That's all Joe is right now.
Okay. So that was what? So that was Joe, Ty, Aubrey.
That was 4. Yeah, who do you have 4?
At 4 here, I am going to go with, let's see. I guess I want to go Kyle because of the idol, but man, he seems like a perfect person to get blindsided. The problem is there just aren't that many people left, and I can see other people going. I'll go Michelle, though. Like you said, she is in a pretty good spot, and we haven't really talked about how do Scott, Kyle, and Julia and Ty, let's say they force it together. How are they playing their votes? How are they using their idols to get someone off, and who are they targeting? I guess that's like the biggest question.
Sydney, and I guess they do the super idol. And then they're up 4-3, and they don't even they don't feel like they need the idol. So I think that's what they do. And I wouldn't be surprised if something happens this week where they target Sydney, they play the super idol, Sydney goes home, because then it's 4-0. But what I think would be kind of crazy, then the next week, Julia could just flip right back to the girls, and the guys have no idols, and they go home, one after the other. So I wouldn't be surprised if something like that happens, because I think that's who they target is Sydney, and she has no idol. So,
right. Yep. That's it. That's a good call. And I get that's to your point earlier or last week that Julia is in such a good spot because she really decides which way this game goes. She can go with the guys. She can go with the girls. And Aubrey had that whole spiel about the person in the middle getting run over. It didn't happen last week. And it seems like Julia's vote will be needed unless Ty can flip. I guess is the only way Julia doesn't survive if Ty flips over to that kind of new form. It's not even a brain alliance anymore. It's like we have Aubrey, Sydney, and Michelle all from different tribes. Then you just toss in Joe. So I don't even know what to call that alliance, really. But yeah, I got Michelle at girls. 4. It's girls plus Joe, I guess. If Julia's leaving, I mean, I don't know. Yeah, so Michelle at 4. She is probably more of a challenge threat than Joe and Aubrey. So if Sydney somehow isn't getting the attention, Michelle's probably the next one. But I like Michelle's chances to survive this episode.
Yeah. I have 5. I have Aubrey. I'm not too worried about her going. It's just somehow if somebody figures out how hard she's playing, she's in trouble. Like if they figure out how hard she's playing. But I don't think that she's going. But I'm not like super confident. I mean, they've been playing her up huge like the last couple episodes, and it seemed like this season when they would play up people huge, like they would Nick, he had like a great 2-episode run and then he goes. Then you get like, Neil has like a huge episode and then he goes. Like, so I'm not sure like this whole Aubrey thing, like this season's been so much different than a normal season that I'm not 100% on her, but I think she's going to be all right. But I have her at 5. She's playing great. So hopefully she sticks around. I'm really interested to see how the hell this goes down. This is going to be a crazy. Yeah.
I don't think it's just been 1 or 2 episodes, though. I think, that Peter boot, she really had a nice episode. Then, obviously, when Neil got medevaced, a pretty big one. Then Nick going home, she was prominent there and prominent last week. So it's not like she's just had, like, these one-offs. I think it's been kind of a continuous large edit from Aubrey, at least these past, like, 4 or 5 episodes. So she's still, right now, the person who I think is going to ultimately win this game. So I'm surprised you do have her this low, but hey, that in a season that has been so up and down, they could easily pick off Aubrey at any point. I'm going to go with Sydney at 5 here, and it might seem really high, but I just have a feeling that it is, Kyle, Scott, or Julia going home. I could be wrong, but that's just kind of where I'm seeing things play out. because if Kyle and Scott got power, and then I don't know, the way Jeff didn't hype the season is still playing in my head. I think the Super Idol thing is not going to pan out for them. And Jeff probably really wanted it to. It was probably Jeff's idea, the Super Idol. He probably loves to see these big moves, see it happen. And it kind of fell through, and that might have disappointed him. So I kind of see one of them taking a hit. So I'm just going to put Sydney right there at 5, even though she is the most likely of that, girls' alliance to take a hit.
Yeah, I have Sydney at 6. I think Sydney is going to be the guy's target. And whenever you're the target of any type of alliance, especially one with 2 idols, I think you're in trouble. I mean, 5 isn't really high because, it's the back half of this. There's only 8 people left. But I have her at 6. I think that if it's not Scott or Julia, it's going to be Sydney. Like, I think that Scott or Julia goes home, or that group somehow pulls the numbers and Sydney goes. So
Yeah. That's kind of where I'm sitting too. And then also, like we were saying, it really could be anybody. Anyone could go home this week, which we have not said. Well, we say it a lot of times during a lot of seasons, but this season we've known some people are going to be pretty much safe. At number 6, I have Kyle, just because if it is a big blindside, it would be a very big shock to see Kyle go home. Like if he doesn't play his idol, or he plays his idol on Scott, or gives it to Ty to, declare a Super Idol, and then Ty doesn't give it back to him. There are a lot of ways where, yeah, he has this idol, but you can play it wrongly. You can play it incorrectly. So that's kind of the only way he goes home. Or he just might be too confident and not play anything at all. That's also an option. So I have him at 6, and I guess I can just kill my rankings. I don't know. Do you want me to kill my rankings, or do you want to go?
Well, I go Scott and Julia. What do you go?
Yeah, I have Scott at 7, and then Julia at 8.
Okay, so we have the same there. I think Julia is in the most trouble just because she's in the middle, and it seems like if the guys get worried or something, or if they think that they can get Ty onto if the girls think they can get Ty onto their side and they don't have to worry about the Super Idol anymore, they might just target Julia and see if they can flush an idol again, because
Exactly.
Julia is just really you're not losing a number in that situation, but it's going to come down to if they think the Super Idol is actually going to be used against them. Because if the Super Idol is going to be used against them, they got to get rid of it now. They got to vote out Ty or Scott or Kyle this week to ensure that Super Idol can't come up later, and one of these girls is going to get a random boot, which I think would be Sydney in that situation.
Yeah, I'm more leaning towards that first option. I really think that that Ty is going to go over and cause up a lot of trouble. There won't be a Super Idol, and Julia or Scott really is who I think it's going to be. So those are the power rankings.
Mm-hmm.
Got those done pretty quickly. Let's go to comments. I guess we'll start with Twitter, and then we have a whole bunch of YouTube comments from our last video. And if you're listening live and want us to ask us a question or comment, feel free to do that on this video as well.
Yeah. So let's see here. We had Ravinsha Sharma. Ty is a genius for using Scott's fire extinguishing feat against him. How likely is that? How likely is it that Ty is going to final tribal? I think out of those 3, he might have the best chance, just because people sit there and say we want him to go. But I'm not sure. I don't think that really any of these guys are going to make the final tribal.
I completely disagree with that. I think Scott or Kyle is way more likely to go than Ty. It's like, who do you want to sit next to? Do you want to sit next to the guys who have openly been arrogant, cocky, sabotaging the tribe, or nice, underdog, small Vietnamese man who has won immunities, who has been friendly and sociable and liked by everybody? It's just night and day with those 3 guys.
I just think right now these girls don't want either of those guys to make the final. And other than Julia, I think the girls are kind of taking the high road on this, where it's like, screw them, they're annoying, we don't want them to sit at the end. So I think that Ty has a better chance to go to the end than they do.
Just because you want something doesn't mean, let's say they vote out Scott this week. You're sitting there, 7 people left. The girls are going to start turning on each other and have to figuring out their own final 3 plans. And Kyle is not only a vote for you, but someone who, if you do go to the end with, you can probably beat. So I think I would give Kyle the highest shot to go to the final 3 and lose. And Scott probably the second, and then Ty the least. I do not think Ty makes it to the final travel at all. That's why I put him pretty low when we did 3-3-3. There is if you sit next to Ty, you lose. And I think everyone sees that. I mean, we sit here talking about Aubrey, how she's playing this great game that other players on the island aren't seeing. Ty is doing pretty much the exact opposite, where everyone is seeing exactly what he's doing, aside from him pouring water on the fire, which is good that they didn't see that. But, I mean, it's not like he's playing this great game to the cameras, but everyone there likes Ty. If I'm out there on an island, I'd probably do something like Julia's doing. Probably not as blatant, but keep those guys around that you can beat. Get the guy out that is going to beat you.
Yeah, I just don't think that's how the other group of girls is playing. I just don't think they are.
You don't
think they
think
get rid of
when it
those
gets
guys
down-
when they get the chance.
You don't think it goes down to final 7, final 6, and they're like, uh-oh.
I think they get rid of guys no matter what. I think that's their motive. I don't think they care.
$1 million.
$1
million, Phil.
I'm just saying how I think they're playing, man.
All right. I disagree.
I'm just saying how I think they're playing. And it's happened before. This wouldn't be the first time, and I think that's the point they're at. I just don't think they want those people to sit there at the end.
All right.
Revenge of Sharma again. Scott and Jason have no chance to win the game. I don't think Michelle is getting the edit. I'm getting the vibes from Aubrey. That's where Will's at. It's clearly a men versus women thing now. I think men will get ousted one after the other, with Joe being the last one. I don't know. I don't think it's men versus women. Like, I think Julia is clearly in the middle, and I think she's in the most trouble. I really do.
Yeah, if Julia can get through this vote, then I like her chances more. The only problem then is, like, she's been playing so hard playing this game. She actually has a pretty good resume on moves she's made. So if girls start, getting wary about who they're sitting next to, Julia probably isn't a good person to sit next to either. She is 18 years old, one of the youngest to ever play the game, and she's actually playing hard. She's not like Nat Tannerelli, just riding someone's coattails. She's really playing her own game.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. She's making moves, or trying to make moves. Revenge of Sharma. Debbie's gone. Is Debbie better than Coach from South Pacific in terms of gameplay? I think Coach from South Pacific is miles ahead of Debbie. I don't think even Debbie was that good at gameplay.
Yeah, I don't think either of them are really that good at gameplay. And I guess Coach, on his third try in South Pacific, figured some things out. But I mean, he did go to Final Tribal and he didn't get, he lost. So someone played a better game than him. I guess you have to go Coach, but I don't think either of them are that good at Survivor.
No, I don't think so either. Tom Azenberg, how come you guys don't use the YouTube live chat? We could have another layer of communication during live streams. Why, Will? Why don't we use it?
It's because we use like Google Plus. We like having this banner at the bottom. Everything is set up through Google Hangouts, and then it gets posted to YouTube. And I don't think you can. If you set it up on YouTube, I think you can do that, but we set it up using Hangouts. But we'll look into that if that's a feature. They do have a new feature, polls, so we can now actually put polls into the videos. It won't work for live listeners, but once the video is over and processed, we can put like MVP, LVP polls up there. So we'll start doing that for our next week's recap. So there you go. Get polls.
There you go. Clutch hat trick. What are things now after last week? 1 million to 1.
Okay, what was the question?
What are the chances a guy wins after last week's episode? 1 million. It's bad.
I don't think it's 1 million to 1.
Bad.
We did talk about that possibility of maybe a final 2 of Scott and Kyle. That's the only way either of them win. Ty, like I've been saying for a few weeks now, is just way too likable to let him get that far. He'd have to go on like an immunity run from like final 6 on, maybe final 7 on. And then Joe, he's not winning because if he were, we would have seen so much more of him because he's a guy you could turn into a hero. So I give it about 5,000 to 1.
Yeah, that's a good number.
Maybe like 2,500 to 1. I think the higher you. I mean, I think 2,500 to 1's better. Like, would you take that bet right now? Like, yeah. Like, would you bet $1 at 5,000 to 1? Yeah.
Yeah, why not?
So maybe it's lower than we think.
Maybe Giovanni Oriana. Why do you guys? This is another Sam Mondosur question. Everybody like Mondosur. Why do you hate Sam Mondosur but like Gabon? I like both. In terms of strategy, Sam Mondosur is better than Gabon. I don't know about that.
Here's my problem with San Juan del Sur. I didn't like any of them at all. Like you look at Gabon, I love Randy. Like, and I love them as characters. Love Kenny. You know, Bob was fun. Love Corinne. Crystal was entertaining. Maddie was good.
Sugar was good.
Sugar was her own. Like I didn't love Sugar, but she had her own flavor. When you look at the pre-merge, Ace was interesting.
Yeah.
You know, Marcus was
GC.
GC was great. I mean, it was just great characters.
Yeah.
San Juan del Sur. You look who's going to the end. You have like down there. You have John and Jacqueline, who are just complete bores. You have Missy and Baylor, who are just completely annoying. I didn't really like Josh or Reed that much at all. I just didn't find them that entertaining. I liked Jeremy a lot. He went home early. Natalie was a good player, but as like a fun character, I didn't even really like Natalie all that much as a character. I think it's night and day between like good characters. You have Alec lasting in final 7. He was pretty much a bore. You have Wes, who, I guess he was funny at points with like one line about chicken wings and then was a bore. You have Keith, who we love Keith. He wasn't even playing the game. You had no good players, good characters playing the game. Like Gabon, you have like Corinne, who actually wanted to win and make moves and play, and she was also a fun character. You have Ken, who's like this nerdy video game guy who like wants to win, playing hard. Same with Kaoh Rong. You have people like Ty playing really hard that are interesting characters. Julia's 18 years old, one of the first 18-year-old girls we've ever seen actually try to play her own game. So I think it's just night and day between. I've said it before. I hate when San Juan del Sur gets grouped into these fun seasons.
I mean, my biggest issue with San Juan del Sur is it was blood versus water, and this so poorly. And then by the end of the game, it was like, oh well, John Clan, call things John Clan, and it's like, why is this happening? Like, what? Like, you don't even need to make an alliance here, and it's annoying. Like it was dumb. I mean, the blood versus water thing, it worked. I thought it worked the first time, but that was because you had returnees and their loved ones. The second time it didn't work because you were just throwing out pairs of people to like play together, and once they actually hit the merge, like the Baylor Missy thing was annoying. Like it gets boring. So I don't know. I hope they don't do it again. You're pretty much when you do that, you put 9 people on the island instead of 18. That's the way I look at it. Like,
exactly. It's like, well, all these people went through casting, and then they asked them, do you have a family member who would be good? And so it's like you're literally getting one player who they casting liked, and then they have to have someone else. There was just so many duds on that cast. The gameplay was not fun at all. The votes were very straightforward. I mean, aside from those 2 at the merge, right after the merge, I mean, I pretty much knew what was going to happen. Even when Keith said stick to the plan, I was like, of course he said that. Like, darn, all right, we're getting a predictable boot now. Like, it was just not interesting. You knew Natalie was going to win from like 7 episodes out from the finale, or whenever Josh went home. So,
wait, like with this season, you can sit here and say Aubrey's going to win, but like nobody knows that Aubrey's going to win. Like if you're sitting there saying she's going to win, it's just because right now she's probably had the best edit, but it's not like she's had like even like a Natalie edit, a Mike edit. Like she hasn't had something like that.
It wasn't Natalie's
it's not
edit.
Even close. I don't think to the Jeremy edit of last season. I'm saying
I hear what you're saying, but I'm saying it wasn't Natalie wasn't getting this huge edit. It was that no one else could win. Like that's how bad it was. No one else could win the game after it went Jeremy, then Josh. Like it wasn't possible. Like no one there could win. Baylor wasn't going to win. Missy wasn't going to win. John wasn't going to win. Jacqueline wasn't going to win. Keith wasn't going to win. Like it was just, you knew Natalie was going to win. And here it's like Aubrey's getting big edit, but at least there's so many other contenders. Same with Gabon. There were a lot of different people who could.
Yeah, no, 100%. All right, let's move on to the next thing here. Johnny Burtek has his power rankings. He's got Scott in last and Joe at 1. If you want to look at that, it's got Sydney at 7. So he's thinking along the lines of me. Morgan, she says, unrelated to Kaoh Rong, who would you guys like to see back in season 34? Do you want to talk about that at all right now, or do you want to wait? I know that the Inside Survivor thing has it up. Who's possible to be coming back, and there are some interesting names on there. What do you?
I think we can do a podcast about that at some point. just go through the names probably after once the season's done. I don't know when it will be finalized, but we can kind of go through each person, say what we think, what we like, what we don't like, all that stuff. But let's stick to Kaoh Rong for now.
Yeah. I mean, the only thing I will say, I just want to say one thing about that. I would like to see Danny and Earl play again. I would like to see, people might say they're boring or whatever, but I would like to see both of them play on that list. And those are like two people that I'm interested to see again.
It does look like it's shaping up to be winners versus non-winners.
Yeah, it does. It really does. I don't want to see Ozzy play again. I like Suri, but I really don't even want to see her play. It's like the 3 or 4 timers I don't want to see again.
I want to see like if Jerry were there, like I wouldn't want to see her play again.
Yeah, but she's not there, so you don't have to worry about that.
I'm just calling back. These are,
That's why I'm flipping you off. So that wasn't me flipping off the cast. That was me or the listeners. That was me flipping off Will. All right. Let's stick with Kaoh Rong for the rest of this. We got so many comments. So,
are we on YouTube?
Giovanni Oriana. We're not on YouTube yet. Giovanni Oriana, do you guys think Debbie was a better character than a player? Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
I don't think she was a player. Jimmy O'Connor, I stand by what I said on Wednesday, that being I have no idea what will happen. I'm just going to say Sydney goes. I don't know. It's very possible Sydney goes this week. Very possible. So that's not even like – I mean, it's very possible all of them go this. Like it's crazy how many people really could go right now. Let's see here. Morgan, I think Aubrey's edit has been steady post-swap. Julia's edit just picked up. Seems weird even though she's in a good position. Yeah, I mean, I think Julia is definitely getting more of the Nick or God, I can't remember his name. Somebody help. The other one who just had a huge episode. Peter, thank you. Yes, Nick or Peter. I feel like Julia is getting more of that, where it's kind of like they're there and then they pick up and then they go. I think Aubrey's a little bit safer. That's why I have Julia at 8 in the power rankings and Aubrey at 5.
Right. We touched on that.
Yeah, we touched on that. Steel Punch throwing his power rankings out there. He's got Ty at 1, Sydney at 8, so he's really going on the Sydney train. Giovanni Oriana, do you think people will give Ty a pass for dumping water on the fire just because he's the fan favorite? I mean, I think people already did give him a pass on it. I don't think people were nearly as mad at him as the other ones.
Yeah, you're talking about fans of the game that have seen it, not obviously the people out there, because I don't think he ever really got caught. Didn't Debbie say they knew Ty did it, even though that –
I don't believe anything Debbie says. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I don't either.
Because here's the problem. I've been reading exit.
Of course, Ty gets a pass. I'm going to try to answer the question, Phil. Ty gets a pass because
I just love how you ask another question and I go to answer the question. But go ahead. No. I'm interrupting you on purpose now.
You already answered it. You already answered the question, and then you start talking about something new. We're going to skip over this fan's question.
About something new, dude.
I brought something up,
and I started.
And you answered it, and then I went back.
Oh my god, dude! Whatever.
Ty gets a pass because it was disguised as like a peer pressure sort of thing, where like Scott and Kyle like made him do it. And I know it wasn't explicit, but he's like, I need to be loyal to my alliance and do what they're like. It was played up like that, and he's been so likable the whole season. So yeah, he totally gets a pass.
Ty hasn't done anything mean all season until then. So yeah, I mean, like he never bullied anybody. Everybody loved him. So everybody knows that it was like a moment of weakness, and they showed how conflicted he was. Scott and Jason were pumped to do it. Ty was conflicted. That's the big difference there. Travis Herod. On the offseason, you guys should pick a 9-person jury of your patrons and have them do a final 2 voting for one of you to see who your fan would win an actual Survivor season between the 2 of you. That would be funny.
That would be funny, but how?
That would be really funny.
How do you pick jurors? How do you make it? I mean, I don't know how.
We pick 9 of my friends, so I win. Yeah, I don't have that many common friends. That's the problem. Like we're from very different places.
No, it'd be like listeners. I think that's what he was saying.
Oh, that would be interesting.
Yeah,
that would be funny. I don't know.
Get proud nurse on.
Let's jump on. Yeah, we'll get proud. I bet you she picks me. All right, let's jump to the actual comments from when we did the recap. Just because we didn't do any of those. Bullshite. It's an interesting name. Instead of cannibalizing Debbie and alienating Joe, since the girls were willing to risk trusting Julia on the Debbie vote, Might as well have gone for the three-way tie, split the votes amongst their group. 3 for Joe. He's the safest one to toss votes at since there was 3 guys who vote for him and 3 for Scott. Guys vote for Sydney. Then on the revote, vote for Jason and Ty. You can't do that. The guys use the super idol to save one of them, but they still lose the other. Explain to Joe the fact why you voted for him. I'm confused, but maybe I shouldn't be. Did you get that, Will?
Yeah. So, like, if you go 3 for Joe, because he's not going to get any more votes, because you've already told Julia about Debbie, I guess, at this point. So Debbie might get a vote. So you put 3 at Joe, and then 3 for Scott. And then you let Ty, Kyle, and Jason vote 3 for whatever. They'd likely go Sydney. And then on a revote, you all vote for Jason or Ty, and then Super Idol's gone. Right? They split it. Jason,
on the
Ty on the
revote, you couldn't vote for Ty because the vote was between Joe, Scott, and Sydney. So you'd have to vote for either Scott or Joe.
You'd
can't vote for.
You'd have to put it.
That's
all,
where I got confused.
Oh, right. So you'd have to put it all onto. Well, instead of voting 3 for Joe, just vote for 3 for Ty originally. That would be the move. 3 for Ty.
Yeah.
3 for Joe. Now I'm lost here.
I told you I was lost. All right. Let's move to the next one. Gamer Girl 2330. Don't get it. I hated it. It's worse than episode 2, except for the blind sides and the challenges and a few other redeeming qualities. I didn't like how much negative energy Jason and Scott were giving off. I want both Jason and Scott off my screen. I will not be happy if either of them wins the season. Then Survivor Scholar says the episode peeved me off so much from Jason and Scott being so immature to their cockiness and tribal. I was so pissed off. I don't know. I mean, it was a polarizing episode.
I mean, there's two.
Exploding.
That's like saying I went to a movie and the bad guy killed the sidekick. It's like, yeah, I mean, there's bad guys. Bad guys make for drama and conflict. That's why you can't have heroes without having villains. I mean, that is why you go and watch any story in TV, film, whether it's reality TV or not. There are good guys, there are bad guys, and if you have everyone loving each other, who should we vote out tonight? Let's just draw a name out of a hat. That's not fun to watch. So, look, do I like that they poured water on the fire as a fan in entertainment watching the show for TV story-wise? Yeah. Do I like that they did it and made people, starve and trouble eating and made people uncomfortable physically? No, I don't like that part. But that's Survivor. That's the game. So I think go to a movie theater. Don't say, I don't like that movie because there's a bad guy in it. That's how you have to look at Survivor. It's entertainment. It's a TV show.
Yeah. And if there's no villains, you get like one of the early seasons of the show where you sit there and you're like, oh, they're all just so friendly. There's nothing wrong with that, but you're not going to get any crazy strategizing or blindsides either. I mean, I think people take this too personally just because they are real people. They're not characters, so they assume that this is what people are like in real life. It's a TV show. It's still a game at the end of the day. There's still characters on TV. They got casted for a TV show. Like, they're not completely real. Like, that's just how it is. That's not their true selves. You can't sit here and judge them and say they're awful people based on this. You have to look at it as they're characters on a TV show, not they're real people playing a game. Like, I don't know. That's just how you have to really look at the way it's done.
Right. Yeah. And then again, I don't condone like starving people, but in Survivor, like, you have to do what you have to do, and that's why they're the bad guys. That's why they're the villains of this season.
Yeah, and nobody hated Jatia. I mean, people thought Jatia was annoying. Nobody ever thought she was like the worst person ever when she was dumping food out onto the fire. Like, nobody was ever like, "Oh my god, I want her off my screen." Like,
people thought it was
funny.
That was
that's just as bad. Yeah, exactly.
That's actually like, for this, they can restart the fire for their rice. They don't get that rice back. That she just dumped it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Ty let the cat out of the bag on the last episode after the Super Idol about the Super Idol's power, saying it's when two idols come together and you play it after the vote. So the girls knew about it coming into this episode. I don't really think they did.
I mean, unless he heard that.
I don't think he played it completely.
Yeah, unless he's like said that some at Tribal, or it wasn't aired on TV. If someone like, reported that on Twitter or an X interview, then yeah, maybe. But on TV, he said, "I heard there was Super Idol," and then that's all he said. And then he said, "I don't know."
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's it. Yeah, I don't think that he gave away the entire thing.
All right, I'm gonna start reading some comments. I'm gonna start reading some comments here, if that's cool.
Okay, cool. No, go ahead.
We have D6 Comedy. Philly and Willie. I have a scary feeling that Julia is going to be stupid and join Jason Scott. That's why Jeff was so low on the season, because the bullies get to the end. What do you think? I like Philly and Willie.
I think that's funny. I mean, I don't think that's going to end up happening. I don't know. I think Julia's days are numbered for some reason.
See, I want that to happen. I think
like
that would,
like, she might try to join them.
I would like that. My problem with the comment is, though, Jeff, I think, would love that. I think he likes when villains and people who make big moves win the game. So Jeff would have hyped this season a lot if Kyle ends up winning, or if Scott ends up, maybe not Scott, but
one of his favorite players ever is Russell.
Exactly. He thinks Russell should have beaten Natalie. And he's the host of the show. And he sees everything. And it's like, dude, clearly, Natalie, was likable, and you were not going to give $1 million to a guy who irritated everybody. We got bullshit again. You keep giving Aubrey credit for moves that originate with Sydney. Sydney is the one that brought up voting for Julia and Debbie, and then Aubrey co-signed it. I agree, but we have to also look at what the show is telling us. So, like, I think the show is giving that move, or they're giving credit for that move to Aubrey. Sydney, though, her edit is increasing. Well, I guess we really haven't talked about her enough as like a potential winner of this game, because I think she is. And yeah, she's probably number one target for the guys. But if one of the guys goes this week and they girls take power of this game, Sydney could very well, win by either going on an immunity run or just playing a good social strategy game.
Yeah, I think Henry Alford says it right here that Sydney's played the game. I honestly believe that, because she's been the one who's mixed up, and she's been doing it from the start. So, like, I really like the game Sydney's played. It's just, it doesn't seem like – it feels like she can win, but it feels like we're not being told that she can win. It feels like we're being told that other people can win and Sydney's doing things, but it's not completely Sydney who's doing everything. I don't know how to word that. But
we even have Survivor scholars coming in on this conversation saying, yeah, really feel like Sydney, Aubrey, and Michelle are the only ones left who have any chance of winning. And I would put Aubrey and Michelle just edit-wise above Sydney, even though I agree Sydney has played an awesome game so far.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And we're just not giving her enough credit for that right now. But she has played a fantastic game.
But we're not because we, the edit isn't either. Like, that's like, I don't think. Yeah. We have Laurent Neron. Who do you think will be the third medevac? I hope that it's Joe, and I guess because I hope it's Joe, I think it's Joe too, because I don't want to even have a thought entering my mind of like Michelle or like Kyle getting medevaced at like final 5, or Sydney getting medevaced at final 6. So hoping it's Joe.
My biggest fear is that it's Aubrey. Biggest fear that it's Aubrey. And that's why we're getting so much of her. She plays a really good game. Then she gets medevaced, and it's kind of like they leave the fans wanting more of Aubrey.
And she is on the list for 34. So that could be why.
Yeah. Exactly. Although there are other people from the season on that list, but
like Peter. Why is Peter?
How the hell is Peter on that list? Why?
Here we go. We have Henry Alford. First off, congrats to the Warriors. They could beat the Bulls for sure. This was a fantastic episode and an elite season. Thank you, Henry Alford. Warriors, and says this is an elite season. I agree. I'm worried that the medevac will ruin the end of the season. If Joe isn't taken out, the season will take a major hit. Yeah, we don't want the medevac to completely ruin the season, but so far, 9 episodes in, this has been one of my favorite seasons, I think, of the show's history. I think it's, for me, through 9 episodes, a top 5 season.
It's great. And the only thing, here's how it's got to play out. If they get down to like final 6 and one side has 4 and the other side has 2, and like let's say Kyle and Scott are on the bottom and one of them gets medevac then, it's not as big of a hit then because they were already down in numbers. Maybe they weren't going to be able to turn it. They were just sitting ducks anyway. Almost like the James medevac in Micronesia. He wasn't going to make it any longer. The girls wanted him out. He was going to have to win a bunch of immunities, or the girls were just going to vote him out anyway. So it sucked that James went that way, but it wasn't a huge loss. So like Eric gets pulled from Karamoan. The goal, like the plan wasn't for him to sit in the final three. He could have easily made it because he could win the challenges. He wasn't up against really anybody that was good at challenges left in the game, although Eddie was. But like, you know, that wasn't as big of a pull because he was down in numbers and he had just lost his closest ally. So that's where I'm at with this. Like, it depends when it happens. If it's not Joe, it's got to be somebody who's down in numbers and can't make the comeback anymore.
Yeah, I'm totally with you. If it's someone who's in the majority, you know, ready to waltz on to the final three, playing a great game, I think it's medevac. That definitely will have a negative impact on how we look at this season afterwards. But I'm hoping, just thinking it's Joe.
Yeah.
We have Morgan Osborne, Jason Scott, and Ty equals Trace Diablos. Hey, I'm all for it. I just think that Ty just isn't like enough of a devil to be a Diablo, especially if he's going to flip. If Ty maybe sticks, if they stick together for another couple episodes, maybe that will go down in history as the nickname, as the name of the alliance, Trace Diablos. But it doesn't look like Scott or Ty is going to stick with those guys anyway.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
Morgan Osborne, I have a feeling that this season will have a final two like Young. What do you guys think? The season has been great so far. Not sure why it was not hyped up at all. Thank you again for agreeing with the seasons, because a lot of this, I've heard a lot of people say they don't like the season, which is just I don't see how you couldn't. But it is nice hearing that there are people who agree with us that really have enjoyed this season. I'm also feeling final two. I think we've talked about this a few times, just with 2 medevacs already and another one coming. And with the original Brains, Brawn versus Beauty being a final two, I kind of feel like everything is pushing towards a final two at this point.
Yeah, I think everything's – what I think is happening is, like, people get too hung up on the bullying thing. That's why they're not liking the season. They just find people too despicable. And, like,
what was the bullying? There was bullying for, like, one episode with Alicia. That was it. It was one episode. It's like, get over it.
And
people
like,
get the fights.
Everybody needs to not take it so personally. Like, yeah, you can't take it so personally.
Go watch any of the old seasons. Like, there was bullying in literally, like, Fair Play, one of the most loved people. He was so mean to, like, Krista and to I forget who else, but on his, you know, even earlier in the season on his tribe, like, he was
I forget.
Yeah, like,
no,
there's been bullying throughout. There's been bullying throughout Survivor. I mean, it's part of the game. You're living with people on an island. You're not going to get along. That's why it's a show. That's why there's drama. That's why there's conflict. Like, come on, people.
Yeah, people take it way too personally, and I think that's why. And like what they don't give, like, we're in that day and age of the whole like
outrage
binge
culture.
watch. Well, no, and it's binge watch, and like because the guys haven't gone yet, they're just disgusted because how could they be this far in? When they go, you're going to be so satisfied, and they are going to go, and you're going to be satisfied when it happens. You can't get mad every week because they're still there, because you can't binge watch it. If you binge watched it, you'd have no problem with it. You would just say, oh, look, there's the storyline. But you're watching it week to week. You don't know how it's going to end, and that's why everybody's getting mad at it. Just watch it. You'll be satisfied when it happens. You'll laugh at the faces. It's what always happens on Survivor. That's why we like it.
Yeah, that's another great point, too. Combination of the kind of, yeah, it's the binge watching and it's the outrage. Don't get mad so much, just in general. Just be happier. I guess that's another, that's not a dating tip. That's just a life tip. Now we're going above and beyond here. Just be, don't be angry. Do you want to start taking some of these comments?
Oh, okay. Zachary Valentine, do you think Jason and Scott could realize they cannot win the game and give Ty both idols to use individually and get to the final five, assuming he does not get the most votes of the guys next week? Absolutely not. Those guys are selfish and going for it themselves. They're horrible people. I think they understand. They are going for themselves.
I think they understand that if they get to a final two next to each other, like, one of them does have to win the game. Like, You think that hasn't crossed their minds?
Exactly. Oh, absolutely. No, they're going for it completely. There's no way they give up and give it to Ty. There's no way. Zachary Valentine, will Joe's stick to the plan attitude mess up everyone's plans? I don't think so. I don't think he has enough.
I don't know.
But I think it was only Debbie that it.
No, he did it with Peter too. I mean, we've seen it twice now that he won't change his mind on a vote. And let's say you can make this huge power move, or you hear that someone's splitting and you can flip it. Like, it's a very dynamic game, especially in the modern day era where right before tribal council, everyone's going back and forth scrambling. You can't have that mindset where once I've decided who I'm voting for, that's who I'm voting for. We see people whispering at tribal a lot more these days. Go ahead.
But the Peter vote, he was ready. He was switching on the Peter vote. He went from whoever they were going to, and then he was like, all right, now we're voting Peter. Or no, now we're not voting Peter. And like they convinced him to not vote Peter, so he was down with that. But then when they came back and said, now we're going to vote him out again, he was like, no, screw that. I've already made amends with him. So like he was able to switch there. He's not as close with anybody as was with Debbie. So I think that it's fine. Like I don't think Joe's gonna screw this up.
That's a good point. Like, he doesn't have anyone really that he's that loyal to. Probably Aubrey. Like, he will never write Aubrey's name down. Other than that, he can probably, But it wasn't even that he won't write people's names down. Debbie was saying, or maybe Michelle, or maybe Aubrey, that like he just gets confused. Like, if you don't spell it out very clearly and early on, that it will like slip his mind who he's supposed to write down. Like, that's how bad it is. Like, to the extent where like tell him early, don't change it. Not that he won't change, but you don't want to even let him have any confusion. So it could. I hope he gets medevaced. And not in like, I hope he gets medevaced because I don't like him. We know someone is going to get medevaced. So if someone has to be, I hope it's him.
Yeah. Dylan Peddle, which one of these impossible plot twists would be stranger if it happened? Third medical vac was Jeff Probst, and that's why he lost brain cells from this. The chicken was the sole survivor. And I think there's a whole Reddit Pickens going to win the season.
I mean, the second one is clearly more strange. I mean, if Jeff could get like a parasite or infection in which he needs to be like hospitalized, that's actually could happen. The chicken getting votes at the end is not in any like realm of possibility. So I have to go. That's the more stranger one.
Gamer Girl 2030. Sorry to go on about this. Last time I'll bring it up. I'm sorry to be negative, but just stop it. Sabotaging the camp is never funny, always immature and mean, and bullying is never cool. Also, Russell Hand, sabotaging the camp is why I think Foa did so bad at challenges. And him sabotaging the camp is also why that group of four was so tight when they got to the merge and why they went to the Final Four. Or Final Four to the Final Five.
Right. I will give Gamer Girl a break here also because she posted both these comments before we started the podcast, so she didn't hear us go on the rant. But I don't think we can touch this anymore. Like we said, it's a TV show. You need villains. Sabotaging. We just talked about the Jatia thing. When Jatia poured the rice on the fire, a lot of people thought that was one of the funnier moments in the show's 28 season history when that had happened. That was the vibe, right? After that, like it was, people were laughing. Yeah. And then
she was a joke at that point in the Survivor world.
Yeah, and then these people pour water on fire that the camp immediately restarts, and they're viewed as like these completely negative, bullies that need to be like kicked off the show for being mean. Like it's pretty ridiculous, like how you can look at those situations and have those two different reactions when one, Jatia's, is far worse than the other.
Yeah, I mean, it's just the way the guys are being played up as the villains, and people just hate that. Let's see. Breaking Lost Thrones prediction: Julia pulls in Michelle, and they go with the three guys and vote out Aubrey. Ooh. I don't think Julia pulls in Michelle. I don't think Michelle does it though. Do you think Michelle would flip like that? I don't know if she goes with the guys.
I think Julia is like a lone horse. Like she wants to be the one in the middle with the own her own.
Man, I just lost you for the first time. You're doing so. Just lost you. What happened?
I was saying that Michelle I think Julia doesn't really want to bring in Michelle because she wants to have this power to herself, that she's the one in the middle. She's the one calling the shots. And, it might be a good strategy for a little bit, but it's putting her in a vulnerable position.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. I mean, Michelle definitely could do it, but I think that she's solid with those other girls. Like, I think that 3-girl alliance is pretty solid with Sydney, Aubrey, and Michelle. As weird as that is.
They really clicked.
Let's see. They did. They really did. Zach Smith, this may seem strange, but I want Jason to win, along with Ty. That is you're definitely in the minority there, bud. Definitely.
I'd like to see. I mean, at this point, who am I rooting for to win? I don't even know if I really have a horse in this race, especially because we talk about it so much and we look at their edits so heavily. It's kind of hard to take a look back and root for someone. Even last season, I didn't really have someone I was really rooting for just because Jeremy kind of ran away with the edit and he was my winner pick and it was hard. I actually would like to see Jason win. I guess that's who I'm rooting for, just because it would require some very crazy things to happen for him to somehow win this game. And I like crazy, exciting Survivor. I don't think this rule of thumb that you need to like the winner and the winner needs to be a hero. I just think that is complete BS. And I would love to see a villainous character, someone like Brian Heidick or even Hatch, play really vicious.
Tony.
Yeah, just play a vicious, aggressive game, get to the end and win. I have no problem with that. If you called some people's names and try to starve them because you get the food, that's the name, that's part of the game. So I'm not going to sit here and say I don't want someone to win because they poured water on the fire.
They haven't cheated yet. It's not like they cheated. They're doing what they have. If he somehow wins the game after doing everything he's done this season, more power to him. One of the most honestly, in my opinion, if Scott or Jason win this game, it would be one of the most impressive wins ever. Because how the hell did they win it after how they were the entire season? That is insanely impressive to be that aggressive and that over the top and that villainous and win the game. That would just be insane. I'm not rooting for them. Obviously, that's my winner pick. It's the same thing like you last season with Jeremy. It was your winner pick, so you root for it. But if Michelle goes this week, out of the 7, I don't care. I really don't. I'm just liking it. I'm just liking where everybody's at. I like that. I think I'm enjoying the season more because I really don't care who wins.
Yeah,
I think that's making it better because I don't feel like I should be rooting for somebody.
Sydney and Julia are also people I would really like to see win. Aubrey, would be a little predictable at this point. Michelle would be fun. I mean, there's a lot of people who could win. Pretty much anyone left except for Joe, I would be pretty satisfied with a win.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to see Scott Pollard win, to be honest with you.
No, I don't think he is,
if he somehow pulled off, it's how the hell did he win? Exactly. I don't think so either. Hank's weather page. I'm your most recent subscriber. It's now 667. You're welcome. It's actually now 671, but thank you for getting it off of 666.
Well, now we have to get to 675. So to get to 675, we need people. You can click the button right now. There's actually a little maybe it's here, I think, or here. Bottom right. If you click that watermark, a subscribe button comes up. So it's so easy. You can do it while watching the video. They make it really easy. Okay, let's keep continuing on.
Nate, Aubrey, and Sydney are the ones controlling the game. Power couple, ? I don't think they're completely in control yet. I think they could be. I think they, in a norm, would be in control of the game. They could be the power couple. They decided who went last week. But I don't think they're completely in control yet just because the idols are just too
once the idols are out of the way, they can maybe take control if they're both still around. But they do have a good relationship. I love them. They were swearing kind of with each other, I'm with you, I'm feeling you right now, I'm totally. They just kind of and then Michelle came in and they really gelled that trio. And again, it's one from each tribe, so it's fun to see that.
Do we get a funny Micronesia thing where they get down to final 3 and it's the 3 of them, and then they realize that it's a final 2 and they have to get rid of each other?
Very well could happen.
Yeah.
And
Squire Whitney, judging by pre-merge, I still think Second Chance is the far superior season.
I could not.
It's
disagree.
polarizing, this one.
I just couldn't disagree more. I think Second Chance, it was fun seeing those players back, but the episodes we had so much Abby in the pre-merge. I mean, the Monica boot was also very, very one of the more predictable boots in like the last 5 years. The PG one was okay. The Varner one was pretty predictable. That whole Angkor tribe, I really didn't have that much fun with. They just got screwed for no reason, just completely unlucky. While on the other hand, Kaoh Rong, literally every episode I've thoroughly enjoyed. The boots have been fun. The only boot that wasn't fun was Alicia, but we had that insane challenge with like 3 people going down there was so much drama in that. And then you look at the merge so far. I mean, yeah, we had that kind of lame Neil thing, but the second part, I mean, I like the Nick Blind side, and then last week's was my favorite episode of the season. So I think this season, I mean, at least for me, I think it's really much more superior to Second Chance.
I just think this season's more polarizing, whereas Second Chance, everybody enjoyed it. Everyone enjoyed it because you knew these people coming in. Likeable people were making it further. We all got to see Kelly Wentworth actually play. Savage was the biggest villain on that season, and he's nothing compared to Scott or Jason. And I think that's why like people were just so much happier with that season than this one. But I don't think everybody's like that. I think it's just a polarizing season. I mean, we'll get in. There's a comment on this video about Gabon too, but like I just think Gabon's another polarizing season, and like you see it come up with these types of seasons where there's a lot of villains and nobody who's the clear hero, and people don't like them as much as when they know that who the hero is and who they're supposed to be rooting for. So I don't know.
Yeah, that's very true. I hear a lot of people that just hate Gabon, and I mean, I guess it depends what you like. So that's a good point, but very polarizing.
Benjamin LaFleur, MVP Aubrey, LVP Joe, Anderson Frazier, Joe Scott, and Jason. Who wins?
Jason.
Yeah, I think Jason. But if Jason was still horrible the rest of the season, they would vote for Joe. If he was that bad, it would only. We're not giving you the money because you're just awful. But I don't think he's that bad.
I mean, but that final 3 is just the way that, I mean, that's an impossible final 3.
Let's hope, right? Gamer Girl 2330, MVP Aubrey for pulling the move to get rid of Debbie. LVP Jason, no need to explain it. I've already gone on about it too much. Let's go to this episode or this podcast or whatever this is. Brian Johnson.
I think it's a
I really like Aubrey. Very smart. Oh, yeah, I think that's what it is. Or a video cast or something. I don't know. So Brian Johnson. I really like Aubrey. Very smart. Knows when to make the right moves. However, I do think Aubrey will be blindsided in the next episode. Not to use a super idol. And they put the votes on her. If I'm wrong, I want her to win the game. She also might be in season 34. She's in the casting process. Yeah. I mean, I would like to. I mean, as long as it's a good episode, I don't think it goes home. And that's how I've been for a while.
If Aubrey goes home, I mean, I'd still be satisfied. Like, how did she seemed to be in such a good spot. How did she, fall? Who took her down? Who flipped on her?
Yeah.
Were there idols? Like, what? I mean, I feel like, I don't know why. I feel like we're getting a lot of people like, my favorite character isn't winning, so I don't like this season. I mean, that's never how Survivor has ever been or what it's ever supposed to have been. Like, the first season, you had, like, Rudy, a really likable old guy. You had, like, a young, like, river rafting guy, and Kelly, who was, like, America's sweetheart. And then you have, like, this naked guy, villainous. Who wins? The naked villain. Like, from the get-go, it was a villain's game. And so for people to now be, I don't know if this was this comment, but just in general, like, my favorite people don't win. Like, that's like when your sports team doesn't win a championship. Oh, I don't like that sport anymore. It's like, no, you watch and you root for your favorites, and sometimes you win, and it makes it that much better when your favorites do win because it happens so rarely. So I don't know.
I just have to say one thing. Kelly Wigglesworth was never America's sweetheart. No.
Was she not? I was so young, but I remember everyone. My sister loved Kelly.
No, Colleen was America's sweetheart. Kelly Kelly, everybody started to think was bitchy.
Okay, but
they were not happy with that final 2 at all.
But the final, I remember in the final 2, there were so many. I mean, and again, I was like, I think in like first grade, my sister was in second grade. Like my sister and all her second grade friends, like, oh, I wish Kelly would have won. I guess that was just from a very limited perspective from kids, but you look at who wins that season, and it was the villain. So.
Yeah, no, exactly. Everybody hated Hatch. That was one thing that is 100% true, and he won. So like, and it was the most popular show, and then the premiere of Australia tops the ratings. Like, come on, like, grow up. It's not that big a deal. Harold Rice, Aubrey, Joe, Julia, Scott, and Ty can't win. At this point, it's a great edited season. How can they not win? How can Aubrey and Ty and Julia not win? Yeah.
So that means
no.
That means well, he lists 5 people here, so that means only Sydney, Michelle, and Kyle can win. I think Aubrey's the front runner, but hey, that might even be better. You know, like if people edits confusing the fans, that's what we want also.
Yeah,
keep us on our toes.
All right, Harold Rice. I'm finally going to answer this question because you've asked it like 7 times and I skipped it. Sorry. Who's the better Debbie, the one off the coach or the one that actually played with coach?
Oh, the one that played with coach, for sure.
I didn't like her, dude. Oh my god.
She was a much better player. I mean, they got rid of her because she was a threat. Like she was a kindergarten teacher or no, like a principal or something. Very likable. I think that's why they got her out. She was too likable.
Yeah, she was a better player, but I'm not a fan of that Debbie for some reason. She just didn't do anything for me. But she was one of the least interesting characters on that season, on a very character-driven season.
Oh, I liked her. I thought she was a hoot.
Nice, a hoot. Harold Rice, Kyle wins immunity, and maybe Scott goes home. I wonder what would happen if Kyle wins immunity. Does he give like an idol to Scott and they not use a super idol if they're worried about Ty? Like, how would this go down?
Well, if Ty isn't giving them the second piece, then there's no choice. Then I think Scott plays the idol. I think it's better because we've seen this. You know, should Mike have played it for Shireen in Worlds Apart? Probably not. But here, I think it's probably a better if you're Kyle to give your idol to Scott because then you have 2 votes remaining, and that idol is going to be likely rehidden, and you have a chance of finding it. If Scott goes, then yeah, you're good for 1 more week, but then you're sitting at final 6, no idol. But if you can keep your number 1 ally around, especially since I don't know if he's thinking this, but since we know this pretty much to be true, that the only way Kyle wins is if it's a final 2, you have to keep Scott by your side, like or your game's done. So
I think he's smart enough to know that. And I think that's why he did the theatrics of last week at Tribal. It's because he knows that the only way he's winning is with Scott. So he's trying to just troll these people at this point into like submission. And I think he does everything he can to keep Scott around. I think Kyle's self-aware enough to realize he's not going to beat any of the girls.
Yeah. I mean, you can start looking at jury votes here. Neil, he probably didn't get a very good taste from they never went to Tribal. After the tribe swap, Neil and Kyle were on the same tribe. I didn't see any conflict with them. You look at Nick, who was buddy with them after the merge for a couple episodes, and then they don't get Debbie's vote. But so far, you have 1 jury vote probably, and maybe another is even up for grabs.
Yeah, true. Gamer Girl 2330, it took me some time, but I've recovered from the episode. I determined that episode was better than another bad episode that aired last week of another show that I watch. Not sure what show that is. Maybe it was that. I don't know what it is. But that's good. It was a great episode.
Yeah, it was a really great episode.
Rice. Well, now this is where you can just rant again. You can go nuts. Rob Cesternino ranks Gabon at number 29 out of 30 seasons. Not even joking. He has San Juan del Sur at 15. Any thoughts, Phil and Will? I swear I'm not trolling you on this.
I mean, I think we've talked about it enough. I don't understand how you enjoy San Juan del Sur. I mean, I guess if you like Missy, Baylor, John, and Jacqueline and think they're interesting players, then that's the season for you. I tend to like Maddie, Bob, Kenny, Crystal, Randy, Sugar, Corinne. I just find all those characters to be way more interesting than any of the ones I mentioned. And even Natalie, the winner in San Juan del Sur, I think she played a good winner game, but she wasn't that entertaining of a character. Again, Keith, fun guy, and that was all we got. We have like one good character who doesn't play the game, and then everyone else was so bad at the game and bad at being a good TV character. Alec.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
And we got to watch John and Jacqueline like cry every episode, which was just phenomenal. I love when I get to watch that. I love when it turns into like a show on E as opposed to Survivor. Fantastic. Yeah, no, forget that. I mean, I guess Rob Scano's bitter because he wasn't on Gabon. That makes no sense.
Yeah, I know.
Kaysen, what camera do you guys use? There's a fancy one at the top of the Mac. That's what I use.
Yeah, just the camera on the Mac. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. That's why it's so clear and great all the time.
It's actually a very good camera. It's a good camera. It's the internet. It's the internet that makes it blurry.
Yeah. GamerGirl2330, I don't remember much of the episode aside from the sabotaging, sadly. That's why I hated it. Need to rewatch it, but not looking forward to it. I know they might not be their real selves. I'm saying I don't like their edits. Sorry for being negative. I do like you guys, and I respect that you guys like this episode. I respect that you don't like the episode. That's fine. We're just saying that people are getting too upset over oh God, how is he still in the game? Well, if he goes out at final 11, if Jason and Scott are both gone right now, what do we have to look forward to? There's no antagonist on the season. So like, just be happy that you get this many villains and like a good bunch of heroes, even though they're not like one. There's not like one hero that you really want to win, but you have a good bunch. Be happy you have that mix. That's a good thing.
And Gamer Girl, just watch it and don't get upset at the sabotage. Like if you watch that Tribal Council, that was a bundle of fun. That rock, paper, scissors charade, they didn't know there was people talking. I mean, it was a fun episode. Give it another shot. Harold Rice, Phil and Will as life coaches, definitely better coaches than Coach Wade. I'd watch that show. You guys rock. Well, thank you. Harold Rice, why do people love Shane and Russell but hate Jason and Scott? There's not too big of a difference between those four. I think people like Shane just because he was so out there and weird. Like it wasn't him being manipulative or deceptive or like trying to hurt everyone. That's just the way he was. And Scott and Kyle, they clearly are going out of their way to like make other people's lives miserable. And with Russell, I think a lot of people don't like Russell at all. So, I mean, I don't think everyone
he's a fan favorite though. He's definitely a fan favorite. He is.
Oh, for sure. I think Kyle is. I think Kyle is too.
Yeah, I agree with you. And here's what I want to point out here. Go back and watch Exile Island. There's never been a meaner person on the show than Shane. Shane was so ruthless to Courtney, it's absurd. Like, he is so mean to Courtney that entire season. And nobody was like the worst person ever. Everybody's been crying they hasn't been back on the show. And, like, he was so much meaner. And, yeah, I know he was coming off the cigarettes and he was losing his freaking mind. But, like, he's sitting there screaming at Courtney, like, whenever she's around. And nobody was saying that he was bad. He was so much meaner as a person than Scott and Jason are this season. They're not even remotely close with how they were to Alicia, with how Shane was to Courtney. Like, not even remotely close. It's not even close. Shane was ridiculous the entire time. But it was fun TV, and everybody realized what fun was back then.
No one complained. It's like people are way too sensitive. It is sad. It's honestly sad. Yeah.
Stop talking for a second. All right, now you turn into a robot. Start over.
We're over here. I mean, the comments are done. I guess let's.
No. I mean, start over with that last comment. What you were saying about the Shane thing, because you were all like static. I don't know what happened.
It's fine. I just said that. We're in a different. I don't know. We've talked about it way too much this podcast already. Just don't get angry. Just watch, enjoy, look at it as a movie. Let's get into the boot list rankings.
Yeah. I have the top 11 because this is all people under 50. Adam Klein with 37, Angus J with 40, Will Holston with 41, XH Sum with 41, Loki Lokinen with 44, Ace with 44, LJ and Krabby with 45, Luke Glads with 46, Micah Roberts and 5 white guys with 47, and Son of Nuo with 49.
There we go. So obviously a lot can change between now and the finale, so we'll keep you updated on that. Be sure to give this video a like, subscribe. We're not really going to read any more comments, but be sure to comment on our recap episode. We'll do that Wednesday. Actually, I think the Warriors are playing again Wednesday. It depends what time, because I think it will be in Houston. So I'll probably be able to do Wednesday. But Thursday was kind of fun because we kind of got to sit with it a bit longer. We heard some exit interviews, got a little bit more info. I think people were excited to watch. Not that we're going to change to Thursdays, but it wasn't like the worst thing in the world. We couldn't, recap it the moment after it was over.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't bad. It's really going to depend on how the episode is, because I think we benefited from the fact that it was an awesome episode. If it wasn't such a good episode, I don't know if people would have cared as much come Wednesday or Thursday. I mean.
Right. Well, I think it will be fine. I think
No, you're good. They don't play Wednesday.
Oh,
they
okay.
play Monday and Thursday.
Okay, perfect. Well, then we're fine. All right. Well, we will see you guys Wednesday, and thank you for listening.